a couple of years ago they came out with M18 vacuums.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna give them a pass on that. I think that they sucked.
They are a vacuum.
You're gonna have to be good because it's going right now.
It's going.
Yeah. So hey everybody, welcome to the Make Trades Great Again podcast. Andy and Eric here. Andy, I just got back from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and while I was in Milwaukee, and the reason I was in Milwaukee with my lovely bride Heather was to attend the Milwaukee Pipeline event.
Ooh, fancy! What do we? Is this? Do they do it? Is it NPS 24? Is that what it was?
They don't call it NPS anymore. That was the new product symposium, NPS.
Yeah.
Yep. They've been calling it the Pipeline for a while now, which I think
right.
is just a branding change.
That's fine.
I like to think it's paying homage to us plumbers and pipe fitters and steam fitters and sprinkler fitters. Gas fitters.
Their tool line kind of drives that direction.
I think a lot of success that they've had is based off the pipe trades. There's no doubt. Not that they haven't had tremendous success in other trades as well.
Yep. I think that they have less competition in the pipe trade side of it for specialty tools.
They do, which, is funny because there's companies that are older and make robust quality tools that will last a career. Yeah. That just don't seem to be competing on the same level, I guess.
I agree.
So let's get into it. This is going to be, so everybody listening, there's going to be a little more reference to visual on this one. So if you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Mechanical Hub, and you'll find the MTGA podcast on Mechanical Hub in video format, updated every week. And it's these episodes. We don't do anything different. We're recording visual. We're recording visual. We're recording visual right now. What the frick does that mean? What am I trying to say, Andy?
You can look with your ears and see with your tongue. I don't know.
We record video simultaneously to the audio. It's crazy. It's a crazy world we live in. It's like we're living in 2030 right now. It's crazy. So I'm going to share my screen with you right now, Andy, and you'll get to see. Okay. Oh, that's not sharing it. If I just click on it, it doesn't share it to you. I have to actually decide what I'm sharing, right? Okay, Here we go.
Oh, here it comes.
Are you ready? Tell me if you see my screen. You got to do the whole. Do you see my screen? Do you see it?
I see it.
Okay, how does this work? Oh, I got to go to the thing. Is it scrolling now?
No, it's scrolling. You're good to go.
All right, 2024 Pipeline. This is the media kit. This is what's sent to the media directly from Milwaukee, and this is not sent out to the public, but it is public information. So there's a table of contents. We're just going to go through this one step at a time. You can see there's batteries and chargers, outdoor power equipment, fastening and automotive, carpentry, metalworking, and rotary hammers, MX fuel, plumbing and electrical, right there in the middle of it all. Lighting system enhancements. I don't really even know what that is. There's a couple new vacuums that are in this here. There's job site apparel. I have some inside information on job site stuff that some of it I can't even share with you.
Ooh.
Personal protective equipment, or otherwise known as PPE or and hand tools, pack out. Okay. Everybody wants to talk about pack out, but we'll get there last. Let's go through this quick. I'm not going to go line by line on this, right? There is some pretty big announcements for Milwaukee, and this isn't sponsored by them by any means. I think we're just the only one doing a podcast on the pipeline stuff, right?
There you go.
Leave it to MTGA to bring you that investigative journalism.
That's right.
The hard-hitting facts. And as you can see on this screen, if you're watching this on YouTube, batteries and chargers, and there's a couple new batteries coming out. Do you remember last year? I don't know how big of a splash it made, but they announced this new battery for the M18 platform called the Forge. Do you remember that?
I do. I don't have any yet, but
well, what they did is they rebuilt how the battery's built, which I think they've always had. I think Milwaukee's always had probably. I don't want to sound like a homer for any of this. I just want to put that out there. But I think that they have had the strongest batteries, to be honest.
Yeah. I've had good success. I mean, they've had their key batteries that have been better than others, but
sure. They've had some abysmal batteries lately. Like honestly, they've had some swings and misses. I'm not going to sugarcoat 100%. And thank you for saying that. I'm glad you did, because I don't want to, again, I don't want to sound like we're like pro everything here. Although a lot of it was all impressive this time around. I left the pipeline way more energized than I had maybe last year. So they got a couple new batteries on the Forge platform, which is a new cell and a new battery technology, like how they put it together inside the pack and everything. Like even the housing is different. Right. It's more, it's got better protection for drops and heat and water and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty crazy. What do they call it? Resistant housing for increased protection against exposure to common oils, greases, and solvents. Ingress, that's a term that's used by engineers that says like it's got ingress coating, meaning like, and protection, meaning like stuff ain't getting in the pack. Does that make sense? Like it's a different way. It's a more technical way, and they're avoiding saying waterproof, put that way.
Yep.
Okay. So they got a 12.0 and an 8.0 coming. And the big thing about these Forge batteries is here's the deal. It's like Apple in the lightning cord, right? So these Forge batteries have some really cool tech built into them, but you really only get to take full advantage of it if you buy what's coming up in the next section of this thing, and that's new chargers. Yep. So there they are on your screen. There's a couple new chargers coming that are they're the fast or rapid chargers, but they have this really cool thing built into them called Cool Cycle. And when paired with a battery that has, these will charge your standard batteries that you've had for years.
Right.
But these will charge the new Forge batteries like way faster, like insanely fast. And they're able to cool the battery down while it's charging. So that's why they can get that rapid speed.
Sure.
Pretty cool. One thing that is cool is if you were, a commercial job site, they've got this new 6-bay daisy chain rapid charger coming.
Okay.
It has 6 M18 slots on it.
Yeah.
You can connect. No, am I got this right? Yes. 6 battery slots on it. It's a rapid charger with the cool link thing, whatever. You can connect 10 of these things together.
Okay.
If I'm getting this right, I'm reading it as fast as I can while I'm speaking, so my brain doesn't really love to do that. And so then you can connect 10 of these together and charge 60 batteries.
Okay.
Which is crazy. So like you'd set this up and you'd have it charging like overnight. And it's just going to make sure all the packs are charged by the end of, end of the
it's just going to rotate it around in them. Huh,
it's crazy. Cool. It's super impressive. They got a new dual bay coming. There's a new rapid charger for the MX Fuel, which MX Fuel is, I asked some of the engineers there, do you have anything MX Fuel, Andy?
I don't. No.
I asked some of the engineers there, and they were, they were pretty upfront. They're like, look, it was a slow burn when we had announced it a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But they're moving product and they're expanding greatly on what they're offering. And they they're, some of the first things we made, took a while. Yeah. People weren't super interested, but it took them time too, to, they had to kind of go out with some big hitters right away. And now they've really refined and gone deeper into what they can do with these batteries. You said you didn't have any. I'm sorry. I think I cut you off.
No, I've hemmed and hawed about buying a core drill, but that's the extent of it.
The handheld core drill is what I've used plenty. I have the large one because admittedly they sent it to me. Thank you, Milwaukee. The handheld I have used probably for like 3-4 years now. And it is, by my estimation, at least leading up to the latest round of new tools that they've produced, I'd say is the best designed and engineered and built tool that I've ever used from Milwaukee.
That's awesome.
It's impressively nice. I even wondered, like, do they even make it? You know what I mean? Like it's different enough from other stuff. Here's a new chainsaw.
Yeah.
That's M18, but it takes 2 batteries.
Dual battery.
So really, it's 36 volt. Let's just be honest. They won't say that about their tools, though.
Right.
They won't call them different. They always say 18 because they want to let you know that they're backwards compatible. They're not making you buy new batteries, but technically that saw has a 36 volt motor in it.
Yep. So I've always wondered this, and maybe you know, maybe you don't. On the dual battery stuff like that, do you have if you had let's say a Forge 8.0 and a M18 5.0, does it work with 2 different battery types like that, or do you need to have 2 matched batteries?
No, it works. Works just fine. It doesn't matter. You're just not going to get the same performance.
Sure. Yeah, so
it's the same. They have the same output. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like as far as like voltage goes, that's all the tool really cares about.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, and then they work. I have the dual battery blower, which I do like, but it's bulky and heavy. Because you have 2 friggin' large batteries hanging out the back. But it is nice. Yeah, you could put whatever you want on. I mean, you could put a 3.0 on it, but it ain't gonna run very long. You know.
Right.
But yeah, doesn't matter. Here's one that's really interesting. So this power manager, look at the price of that. Oh, look at that saw though. Okay. 20-inch dual battery chainsaw, $8.99. That sucker's expensive.
Yeah.
They're saying that it's peak horsepower 4.4 horsepower.
Right.
Or standard power mode 4.4, but peak power mode 5.8. I don't. They're comparing it to a 70 cc.
That's pretty impressive.
Gas. The guys that were there at the show that do this work, arborists and stuff, they had, you know, they're not dumb. They brought the right people in for the right tools.
Sure.
They were impressed by it.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't say like, look, this is going to replace my gas saw, but they were impressed. Put it that way.
Yep.
I think there's some YouTube stuff floating around now on these subjects. So check those guys out. Or search for it, I guess. I don't know the names of their channels. If I find it out, I'll try to put it in the show notes. This thing, though, this power manager, this is on a 15 amp option or a 20 amp option. This thing is wicked. So this, you can charge, what does it say? Is there a number? There's a number of plugs on it. You can connect your chargers to it.
Okay.
Of all sorts of chargers. And then it'll switch over automatically from one charger to the next, one battery to the next, so it optimizes the charging over long periods of time.
Sure.
So that you can stay within the amp draw of the circuit that it's connected to. It prioritizes high speed chargers first.
Okay.
So basically what this is doing is looking at whatever's plugged into it.
Yeah.
And it's able to then decide which chargers go in, and how to bring on new chargers as batteries are completed. Right. It was impressive. I don't know the full out details, but this is something that somebody that's running like gang box jobs with lots of batteries on site, this is something that they're going to really want to look into. And then those daisy chain chargers too. I mean, those were 2 of the big highlights that I saw with the batteries. I expected them to come out with the 8 and the 12. The 8 amp hour Forge battery is probably going to be the one that, in my estimation, and as long as I've been like I don't want to say reviewing tools, but, trying them out, looking at the specs, learning about them, that 8 amp hour battery is going to be what like everybody's going to love to own on pretty much every tool. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Huh. That's cool. I imagine that is probably, and I'm not going to say that it is, but it is probably also compatible amongst other brands because it's probably looking at how the charge load is when that is powered up.
I think so.
Because there's not any communicating technology in any of your existing chargers, so it'd be interesting to play with that. That would be cool, like you say, on the job site where you're like, all right, well, everybody plug your stuff in. It's it's go time. It's 8 a.m. and whatever. Hopefully your stuff's charged, but
yeah,
you know
it's
how it
just
is.
this new, it's like a self-contained kind of network basically for your chargers, which look, there's a lot more information going to be available on this coming soon with that explains a lot better than I did here in the 2 minutes I wanted to cover, take covering it. Some expansion.
Yeah.
I didn't get a lot of time with these tools while I was there. The outdoor power stuff, admittedly.
Okay.
I have the existing M18 power head that has the quick lock system. So the shaft that breaks and you can put different attachments on it.
Yep.
They have a new one, and I think that what they've done now is they've put a new motor in it. So Milwaukee's big on, they've just been re-engineering their motors inside of every type of tool so that they're lighter, smaller, run cooler and produce infinitely more power. It's crazy what they're able to do. But this new round of outdoor power equipment is going to have bigger motors in it. And so if you haven't, or if you're on the fence and you're thinking about buying like the trimmer with the quick lock and stuff like that, I'd tell you to hold off. They're saying it's coming out this November, which is an odd time for outdoor power equipment to come out, but that's when they're saying it's going to be ready. You have a trimmer and blower, correct?
Yes. I have first gen stuff, and then I also have the newer, I think it's probably the same quick lock that you have. Single battery.
Yep.
I bought it a year ago.
Yeah, it's like a year or two old.
Yeah. Got the rubber brush or the sweet. I got both the bristle brush and the rubber paddle brush. Fancy. And then I bought the pole saw for it, and that pole saw is actually cool. That works really well.
Yeah, I've heard. I don't have stuff. Yep, I don't have it. I'm eventually going to need it. I'll probably pick up the attachment. I have the rubber brush and the bristle brush. I use the rubber one way more than I ever thought I would. Yeah. It is so freaking useful. You saw me post a video one time, but the landscape rock out of the yard after snowplow.
Yep.
I was excited to use it. Ever a tool that was made for that. What's that?
Yeah. I said I was excited to use it for that purpose. And then it didn't snow enough for me to really plow snow this year. So I was like, all right, fine.
I was surprised it snowed enough here, believe it or not. We didn't even get it to the very end.
Right.
There we go. We talked weather.
There you go.
As we normally do. There's an edger coming, a new pole saw for the quick lock.
Yeah.
I think, again, it comes down to new just engineering.
Yeah.
There's a new string trimmer without the quick lock. That's, your solid shaft.
Yeah.
And it's straight shaft as well. And again, more motor stuff.
Yeah.
There's a short pole hedge trimmer.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple of hedge trimmers coming. A new 4-gallon backpack sprayer with switch tank. I'm not sure what was changed on this. I know it's a new design. I have the existing switch tank. I don't know what you needed to. I'm not sure what they needed to improve, to be honest. I don't know. Have you ever used that switch tank, by the way? I suppose you probably haven't had a need for it.
No.
If you had the core drill, you probably would look at that.
Right.
Some more outdoor stuff. Extended pole articulated hedge trimmer.
Jeez.
Yeah.
You reach over and cut the mower's or the neighbor's hedge with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cut Jim, the neighbor's hedge. Not gonna cut your hedge. I'll cut your hedge from my side of the fence.
Yeah. You jerk. This one was pretty cool. Stubby impact 12 volt.
Yeah.
They went from 250 pound torque to 500 or 225, I think, to 550.
Crazy.
It's like this. It's virtually the same size, but technically it's smaller. You'd never know.
That's crazy.
It is. It is absolutely crazy. And marketed toward the mechanics, but I have the 1/2 inch stubby, the original, and I've used the hell out of that thing. I've used that thing way more than I ever thought I would. It is. It'll bust the lug nuts off my van, my 3/4 ton van. They work good. They do. They're nice. Moving along, some really cool lights. Some orbital sanders, which I don't know. Are you into sanders, Andy?
Yeah, not really. It's cool.
It is cool.
Yeah.
Some new stuff geared toward the automotive. Actually, they have a boroscope, which is just a fancy way of saying a small camera on the end of a flexible shaft wire.
That's cool.
New carpenter stuff with a circ saw and some blades. Duplex nailer. If you're into doing concrete, that's the forming up concrete. That's a big deal.
Yeah, I bet it is.
Another sander, some like finished stuff. Roofing nailer.
That little 3-inch sander would be. I could see that having some pretty cool applications because it's compact.
It would, like if you're doing project stuff around the shop and as a hobby, that would be a really nice tool to own. And also if you're on job, obviously just not having a cord and a real fast compact tool like that. I agree.
Yep.
It's cool. I'm glossing, I'm blasting over these things quickly. What's that?
Yeah, you're cruising. Go for it.
6.5-inch circ saw. The new thing here, that's just been a popular saw for somebody that doesn't need to have a 7 1/4 and building decks like plumbers and like if you're out jobbing, you need a circ saw in a van. At least it's useful.
Yeah.
It's not a necessity, but it's useful, and that's actually, and by my experience, the 6.5-inch saws that they've had for a long time, they've always just been a nice power and weight level and cost for somebody like you and me.
Yep.
There's a new 5 3/8 M12 fuel saw, which is a huge improvement over what they had before. I actually have this saw, and I was burning through some scrap lumber and crap as I was burning it in the brush pile, and I was impressed by its performance. I mean, it's 12 volt, but to be honest with you, it was way more powerful than it should have been. Yeah. New rear handle because it's got the new motor in it. Some more sanders. Man, there's a lot of stuff that I apparently am just not super grinders.
Yeah,
not a big grinder guy. I'm just gonna
not a big. That. I'm not either. I mean, I like a grinder when I need a grinder, but
yeah, I like a grinder when it's a sandwich in my hand.
Yeah,
that's the kind of grinder I like. Not the dating app grinder.
Jeez,
some new rotary hammers. They got a rotary hammer now. Like if you were like, I bet you Chad would like this one, because he's doing a lot of overhead drilling, and it's got a vac built into it. It's just built. Cool. It doesn't have the bulky add-on attachment.
Yep.
It is really kind of just for overhead. It will drill just fine any other position, but the vac isn't like optimized for that.
Sure.
But it's built in, so no separate battery or attachment or anything like that.
Yeah.
Chain hoist.
Yeah.
This thing was popular. I don't have a use for it, so
I wish they made one that was like a 1/2 or 1/4 ton. That was like M12, just tiny. That would be cool.
This thing is
Bluetooth,
voice activated.
Yeah.
Hey Alexa,
lift this sucker up.
Yeah, lift this sucker up. That hoist. Just by observation and listening to other people talk about it, Milwaukee doesn't say this. They won't, they don't deny it, but that was made in partnership with a different company, actually.
Sure.
Which is something that they don't do a ton of, or at least it's not obvious when they do. The MX Fuel stuff I think is really cool, to be honest with you. I think as they expand this line, I'm more and more impressed. So they have that jumping jack. You can see a picture of it there. That friggin' thing... I would, if I was still doing like outside sewer water and stuff like I have in the past, with another, kind of subbing for another company, I have used a jumping jack for hours.
Right.
And the fact that thing just is, you push a button and it's running, like I like that, because there's nothing worse than running out of gas or just having like crappy gas in a compactor, like a tool like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
It just sucks. You can't get the thing. You flood it, whatever.
They're all 2-stroke.
Yeah.
It seems like it.
They're great for the first couple of years. Yeah. Or until some schmo comes on site and doesn't know how to start an engine, and then you're screwed for the rest of the day, right?
Yeah.
New cutoff saw, which has been out a little bit. It's huge, 14-inch. It actually is really impressive considering its battery. And so let's talk about this MX Fuel real quick. I'm not trying to sell it. But I've been through these presentations so many times, and a lot of times people look at this and they think, no way do I want a battery cutoff saw. And the thing is, you do if you're working in like basements and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where you're just not running a gas saw. It's just, there are too many situations where you cannot. I'm not talking about you should not. I'm saying where you literally cannot. Where they're saying, no, you're not running a gas saw in our old folks' home's mechanical room. No friggin' way. So stuff like that. And then just the fact that safety-wise, like, you shouldn't be, regardless of the rules, you just should not be doing that. And for carbon monoxide purposes. Yep. So this stuff is trying to fill a spot that is more or less, there's not a lot of options that are really that great. There's a new big light that runs on MX fuel. They call it a rammer.
That's weird. Okay. I mean, it makes
Why
sense.
don't they just call it a jumping jack? Isn't that what you call it?
Trademarked, probably.
They have this pump. Now, this is like a super specialized tool, but I want to spend 1 minute talking about it.
Yeah.
They have this MX fuel pump that it's like this big 2-piece thing. It's not cheap. You can see it right there. It's $2,500. It's got a 2-inch friggin' discharge on it. Okay. It's 1 horsepower. This thing will move. It'll only run for like 30 minutes. It's not it's not going to run all day, but it's got some like high-low modes. It's got like, it'll work off of pressure, I think, where it'll like turn on once it's like submerged under a certain amount of water, stuff like that. Yeah. This friggin' thing is legit like impressive. I was surprised at how much water this thing moves and is run on a battery.
Yeah, 2,000
and fast. Gallons. Yeah. That's 2,000 gallons per charge in auto mode. That's at auto mode. So like you don't have to sit there and turn it on and off, or it'll turn off on its own once it's run dry, that kind of thing. Yeah. And then turn back on. It's pretty cool. And then they have this kind of battery extension thing, which is more or less like part of what that pump situation is, where it's a corded connector adapter to your already MX fuel tool. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you just put bigger.
Allows you to put a cord on your tool, but not
on your cordless tool.
Yeah.
That's only 8 feet long.
I mean, I can see it. Like you say, I mean, just if you can take 8 or 9, 10 pounds off of a tool, that's got a big MX fuel battery on it, that totally makes sense.
And it's a backpack thing too. It can stand on the ground, but no, you're right. That's what it's for. Like if you're going to be doing, like they're showing in that picture, it's like guys sawing a hole in the wall, right? Yeah. So, new circ saw blades. This thing, okay, this is what I called the coolest tool at the event.
Yeah.
I don't have a big use for it. I told him straight up, don't send me one. I'm not roll grooving stuff on my residential sites, my service work, and my boilers. But this is going to make a big impact. There was a lot of pushback by the sprinkler fitters and stuff. The ones that were like, I'll keep my 300. But I'll tell you what, this thing is gonna mothball a few 300s. I'm not lying.
Yep.
It is a roll groover. They call it the ringer, and it'll do up to 4-inch pipe, schedule 40, or 6-inch. I think, I don't remember. There's a lot of info and some videos I put out there, but it'll do stainless. It'll do schedule 10, schedule 40. The stainless I think is limited to 2-inch, but
probably
a battery M18. This thing, it weighs like 40, 45 pounds. It's not light. It's a real pipe fitting tool.
Yeah.
It locks onto your pipe. It doesn't walk. It won't fall off. It like basically after you set it up with like one test groove, more or less, it's going to lock in and be consistent every single time. There's no fidgeting and, ratchet and like a little bit more,
a little bit. Yeah.
No flaring. It was a very impressive tool. If this is your gig, right? If you're pipe fitting, sprinkler fitting, you're piping up boilers with Vic, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like this is going to be a tool you're going to want it. And you could do it in place or on the vise.
Yeah.
That's cool thing about the vise work, I thought was, it wasn't immediately obvious to me, but think about working in a tight spot and you got a 20-foot pipe, right?
Yeah.
And you're working on a vise with the 300 and like a 975 groover, or like your setup on your
little
Rothenberger. Is that a Rothenberger groover?
Yeah.
Okay. But it's connected to your Rothenberger.
Yep. My little row power 50,
which is a threading machine, powerhead.
Yep.
Okay. You'd have to spin the pipe around, right?
Yeah. Yeah. If you got a 20-foot, if you're doing 20-footers, it's, stick a piece of 20-foot or, do one end and then flip it around and do the other end. I mean, it's doable. I mean, and that's,
it is.
And I think that's the thing with a lot of tools like this is that people go, oh, geez, I'm doing it this other way for, my entire career. Right. Cause that's the way we've done it forever.
Right.
And this is cool because just like you said, if you're doing 4-inch, and you don't have to flip the piece of 4-inch end for end to do each system,
right,
or each connection, then great. That's pretty cool.
That 40-pound tool with a handle on it is infinitely easier to move around than a 20-foot piece of 4-inch Schedule 40.
Yep.
So you pipe this, you get this thing up on your vise and your stand.
Yep.
Throw the machine on one end of it. It finishes. It's like all automatic. There's like no input, basically.
Right.
You walk it over to the other end and do it quick, and then you handle the pipe half as much.
Yep.
While prepping. Like, think about that. It's 50% less handling.
Yeah. That's
there you
cool.
Go. I thought that was really cool. They don't have a price on this yet. In fact, the tools we were using, they were more or less prototype.
Right.
They were as close as you're going to get, I think, to the new thing. Some new inspection stuff for cameras. They have ACR press jaws. I think these have, that says they came out in January. Yeah. I just don't think people know that they have the jaws for streamlined fittings.
Right.
But as with everything refrigeration, they don't seem to want to come up with a uniform system like copper for or potable. And so there's yet another jaw fitting system.
Right.
Oh man. They have rings. Which they did not previously have for copper press for your V profile. Look, it's for like your standard pro press fitting, right?
Yep.
And they didn't have the rings before. Rigid has been dominating this little specialized tool, and if you are pressing every day, you should, in my opinion, own a set of rings for the most common sizes you deal with, half, 3/4, 1 probably, and or at least half and 3/4. Yep. And they were nice. They're nice rings. They're not really any different than the rigid ones. The reason why they didn't have them, I was explained to me, is that there was a patent on them.
That doesn't surprise me. On the concept or something?
Yeah, on like the pivoting angle and all that kind of stuff. So like they just kind of had to wait for that patent to go out. Then they have what do they got? Drain cameras coming. I know you're not a sewer guy, Andy, but they've got a couple cameras that are pretty, in my opinion, they're pretty affordable and they look pretty nice. They're basic.
Yeah.
But they're M12. The new M18 transfer stick, which I tried taking a good video of. I'll probably post it, but the video didn't turn out the way I wanted to, but it moves a lot of water. There's that cutter we've talked about.
Yeah.
Hydraulic pump. It's not something I need, but have you ever used a 10,000 PSI hydraulic pump? No. You don't need to like blast out rivets or something?
No.
I don't even really know.
I mean, I'm like, could I hook that up to like, I suppose, is it like designed for like as a porta power?
Yeah. I think that's really what it really comes down to.
That makes sense.
Yeah. At 12.6 pounds, this compact pump is highly portable and allows easy transport to your application. There you go. That's about all I need to know.
It would be kind of cool.
Some new diamond hole saws come in. They just keep expanding their carbide blades.
Yeah.
Nitrous, they call them.
Yeah.
There you go. Lighting. The lighting, the small task lighting stuff to me was, there's one here I'm not going to go over all of them. This one right here. What a crappy little picture they chose. Let's see if we can get a better picture. If I click on something, can you still see it or no?
It popped up and I saw that it was in Safari, but I think you have to share your Safari.
Well, so I'm not even going to try to get into that. Okay. There's a new light. They call it the Rover Compact Folding Floodlight with USB charging. Whatever. It's this thing. It's like a battery top off. It goes right on your M18 battery, and it is $79. And you're going to want to look at it. Look for that if you haven't already seen it. That's new fan coming, which was nice. Speakers, stuff like that. Yeah. So there you go. Oh, vacuum. I kind of
suckers.
Yep. I kind of look at those suckers. M18 with pack out on the top. All right. So a couple of years ago they came out with M18 vacuums.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna give them a pass on that. I think that they sucked.
They are a vacuum.
So they came out with a dual battery and a single battery. M18, like a 6 and a 9 gallon.
Got it.
The single battery, don't buy it. Just straight up, don't buy it. It's not worth it. It's not powerful enough. It doesn't run very long. You need the dual battery. It's way better. So then they weren't pack out compatible. Okay.
Sure.
That was a mistake. Like everybody said, well, how come I can't put my pack out on?
Yeah.
There you go. And they have a dust collector that's going to go on there. So yeah, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Cool. That was a whole bunch of
tools.
Info. If you watch it on video, you get a little, you can pause it. You can read the little media clips there or the little press release blurbs. I think that it's worth looking at. Pretty cool stuff. Yep. And that was way longer than I wanted it to be.
It's fine.
These specialized episodes, though, you don't want to cut them short.
You can't.
You know what I mean?
You can't really cut off, the transfer of information. It's just poor etiquette.
Look, if I don't cover all of it, they're going to come after me.
They're going to come at you.
I'll be looking over my shoulder.
All over the DMs and be like, Eric, stop the video. And you're already going to get a bad time because the most exciting piece of that NPS was the lighting. And you just totally just, bam.
I know. Well, look, you want more of the lighting? Go to my Instagram, watch the videos because I think I covered it.
Yeah.
Just the way you need it. Just what you're looking for.
All the hubbub on the gram's been about the lighting, and Eric's got 21 seconds on lighting.
But 34 minutes on the rest of it.
On chainsaws and
Well, hey, look, there's a lot of it. When before we hit record, I thought we were going to do 20 minutes, and we're at 37, so I'm going to hit stop in a minute. But not before we remind everybody. As always, you can send us a message. It's really easy. Right. It works very simple. Send us a text message. Use the link in the show description below. You can email us. Andy gives out the email address because I'm not allowed to. I screwed up every time.
Yeah, it's fat and long and skinny at the same time.
Maybe short, but it sure is skinny.
That's right. It sure is long.
Oh, you know what?
Yeah. What?
Go ahead. Say the name.
It's maketradesgreatagain@gmail.com. I have bugs flying all over in the studio right now.
Yeah, well,
they're like
I don't.
gnats.
I don't have any.
Yet. I'm trying not to be like,
This is best. This is the best great. If you're watching it. I forgot to. I wore this shirt on purpose, so they have some new clothing.
Oh, yeah.
And I am wearing this shirt. It is so incredibly comfortable. I love it. And I don't have the full details on it, like the name of it, but if you look, it's going to be, I'm going to be sharing more info on my Instagram about it. Yeah. This shirt is it's just a t-shirt, man. It's just a t-shirt, but it's so much nicer than the stuff that they had before. It's like a poly blend kind of, but it's less on the poly. Does that make sense?
Right.
Like, I don't even know what it's made out of. It's probably made out of like crocodile tears and, unicorn farts or something like that. But
it's a definitely blended unicorn fart.
Yeah, it's nice though. Yeah. It is. All right. Okay. I'm stopping. Right. This was way longer than it should have been. Everybody, thanks for listening. Andy, thank you for hearing me out.
Yep.
All right.
All good. See ya.